Hey there, welcome to this episode of Permission to be Curious. I'm your host, Katie Joy Cochran, and I'm so glad you're here. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that the audio for this podcast episode was created using a speech generating device with a little help from my handy dandy voice clone. But believe me, this voice and these words are 100% my own. I just get a little extra tech help to share them with you. I have a pretty complex neuromuscular disease, and one of the things that it causes is difficulty with speech production. If you like medical jargon, it's a communication disorder called spastic dysarthria. An easier way to explain it is that I just say my speech is a struggle more often than not. This is my first attempt at using my voice clone to record a podcast episode, and there is a bit of a learning curve to navigate, so please bear with me. Also, it isn't exactly a perfect solution, but I'm incredibly grateful to have the technology to share my thoughts with you, so let's get to it. Voice clones and speech-generating devices are becoming a little more commonplace these days. The tech industry and AI have brought us a number of advances, so it isn't so far-fetched to use a voice clone. Also, a lot of times it is simply referred to as AAC, or augmentative and alternative communication. When I said AAC, did you instantly think of a school-aged child with a tablet with buttons to press for speech? Perhaps. But what if I told you that I think you already use a lot of what is considered AAC in your daily life? Most of us do. We just don't call it AAC. Okay, that statement has the possibility of ruffling a few feathers, so let me add a couple more disclaimers. First off, I am assuredly not an expert in everything AAC. I'm also not a speech professional. I am someone who uses AAC to communicate, and I spend a lot of time sharing with folks about how all forms of communication matter. I'm not offering any sort of medical advice, and I'm not here to do anything more than share my personal experience and insights into something that affects my everyday life. That's it. And if you think you might benefit from AAC, that's your call, and it doesn't always require a professional. But if you have a medical necessity, I'd encourage you to reach out to a medical professional. Okay, that's enough of that, I think. Let's just chat a bit more about why I think that you use alternative communication, probably daily. Can you think of what you do daily that might be an alternative to spoken speech? Alternative communication isn't only relegated to unfamiliar or medical realms. It's actually part of how people communicate. I'd bet that you are accustomed to relying on things like texting to send friends and family messages, and you probably have thrown some emojis in those texts as well. And that predictive text that oftentimes adds some really odd choices to select, well, that's technology helping you say what you want or need to say. The difference isn't in function. The difference lies in the stigma associated with it the moment we start calling it AAC. Hear me out, because I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with calling it AAC or not. I just think there are often some misunderstandings about how we communicate, because if you look at it through a wider lens and realize that you also use some of these tools, it puts the conversation in a slightly different perspective. We use tools to support communication all the time. We text each other instead of picking up the phone. We send a rolling eyes emoji to a coworker when a meeting seems to drag on and on and on. We might click a thumbs up button in that endless Zoom meeting to indicate understanding that budget reports are due Friday. Or we might share a GIF of a party hat wearing panda who's blowing out candles on a cake in a family group chat to celebrate someone's birthday. When we do those things, we don't instantly assume those things are childish or mean that someone is less intelligent for using them. We actually probably think we are saving time and having a bit of fun. Also, you might find a time when you absolutely needed to have that extra tech help in your pocket. Have you traveled abroad and used a translation app to ask for directions? You might have wished you were fluent, but you probably didn't berate yourself for needing that extra help. So, if you have sent an image of an animal in a party hat to celebrate any sort of event, or you've used a translation app to ask for the nearest coffee shop so you can get your caffeine fix, I really hope you're loosening your grip on any thoughts that only some people need communication support. But why do I care so much to point that out to you? Because the moment we categorize something as different from quote unquote normal communication, we start attaching judgment to it, even if we don't always realize it. And it also reminds us something important. Communication has never been limited to just the spoken word. So, why do most of us use communication supports in daily life, but treat it as unusual as soon as a disabled person needs it? It makes me think that people are comfortable with support until the support is associated with disability, or is done at a slower pace, or requires more visible assistance. Yet the problem isn't the tool itself, the problem is the story people attach to the tool. We equate speed with intelligence and efficiency. That quick response shows immediate recognition and understanding, often far more often than it deserves to be. And providing a similar but perhaps slower to access response with an AAC device, well, we pass judgment that the lack of speed means lack of understanding, when it doesn't always necessarily mean more than it takes a heck of a lot more steps to access or respond. But that's a topic we'll cover in an episode in the near future. What do you think? Did you enter this conversation thinking differently of how you use communication support tools versus how someone with a disability does? Did you even notice that you were using communication supports? Does it make you think a little differently about communication access for people with disabilities? Like I mentioned, there is a lot more to this than I've shared here today. Mostly what I wanted to do was just challenge you to think about how you think about communication, or how you don't necessarily have to think about communication. Because as an AAC user, I can tell you it is a much more involved process than think, speak, wait, and listen and repeat. And I think it might surprise you when you learn even just a little bit more about it. Communication supports don't determine who is more or less intelligent. They don't determine who is more or less worthy of dignity. They don't decide who is worth the time it takes to listen to. But for some of us, they are the way we can share our thoughts with the world, and I hope that you'll be a bit more patient and curious the next time you encounter someone using AAC. If you liked this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you think there's someone who could benefit from this conversation, go ahead and share it. Thank you for listening. Remember, curiosity is courage. Keep asking, keep listening, and keep connecting.